Fun fact, if you are a man who suffers from the infamous erectile dysfunction, you take those fancy little blue pills like Viagra or Cialis, again, fun fact, if you watch Godzilla vs. Kong, yeah, that whole problem, cured because it's freaking badass! Alright guys, gals, and everything in between, I'm here today to review for you Godzilla vs. Kong. So Godzilla vs. Kong, you know what, really, I don't even count the humans. It stars Godzilla and Kong, two of the biggest monster icons of all time, and they are here, and they are fighting. And it is basically a really long MMA match of awesomeness of giant monster kaiju glory. And Kyle Chandler's in a couple scenes. This film is something I've always wanted to see on screen. I mean, yeah, there was the Godzilla vs. King Kong movie back in, I want to say, the 60s. And, you know, that's a thing. I mean, but it doesn't hold the same weight as, especially with the modern technology we have and all of that. It also kind of has a vague-ish ending as to who wins, but I've always wanted a definitive Godzilla vs. Kong. And this was a movie that brought back the excitement of the cinema again. It felt like an event. And that was so cool. Like, I'll plug the picture of me rocking my Team Godzilla shirt at the theater. But it was cool just going back to the theater, and people were sitting there and yelling out like, "Oh, Team Kong, Godzilla going down," and I'm like, "Oh, Godzilla's gonna win," and they're like, "No, he's not," and then Godzilla people are like, "Kong, it can't stand atomic breath." It was just fun. It brought back that playful fun of the movies. And yeah, the plot is a little bit ridiculous. It's basically that Godzilla's destroying stuff and we don't know why. Kong needs a new home. These two basically are alpha rivals. They clash, and now we have our movie. There's a whole other subplot in there. You really don't need it. And this movie's just, again, throw popcorn in your face, cheer at the screen, watch it on the biggest screen possible. Holy crap, that sound and picture quality, they really understood that these things are supposed to feel larger than life and massive. Every punch, I felt like my chair was vibrating, and that's what I want in a monster movie. And I, of course, won't get into spoilers, but the third act is just so what I've always wanted to see. It is what my child brain imagination had when I was playing with toys in my room or in the bathtub or wherever I played with toys back in the day as a kid. Probably the front yard too. Either way, I digress. It was just one of those childhood dreams come to life, and it was just so fun to watch. And like I said, the scaling was right. Godzilla and Kong are captured with amazing cinematography. Every punch has an impact to it. Every atomic breath you just feel like could be the one to end it all. And yeah, the violence and explosions are in extreme excess, but you really get the scale of these creatures. And I cared about the creatures because of the sheer amount of detail they had with visual effects. Now, as for the human story, I could have done entirely without Millie Bobby Brown's story arc. It just felt really kind of pointless and hokey, which, yeah, there is a bit of element of cheesiness to this genre, but at the same time, Millie Bobby Brown, I don't think really is all that great of an actress these days, and she just kind of fumbled her way through it. The one podcast guy, I don't know his name, he was the saving grace of that story arc, but the rest of it was just kind of, I hate to use the word, it was a little cringy, especially in the first half hour. Once you get past the first half hour of this movie with Millie's story arc, it's just a clear win for the rest of the film, which is like an hour and 15 more. But Millie Bobby Brown's story arc is really not that important, and it's just kind of like a little bit like, oh, wow, really? You want to put that in there? Which is my one gripe on the film. That's literally my only gripe. Peter Skarsgård, I think is the correct Skarsgård. The Tarzan one, not the clown one. He is kind of one of the main driving forces of this story. And also major shout out to the deaf girl. I don't know her name. I think this is her first acting role, but she did an amazing job, and also the editing team did an amazing job. When they wanted it to be her perspective, they transition into basically a hard of hearing or deaf perspective with the sound. So again, major props to the editing and audio department for that one, because that was really cool. Yeah, Peter Skarsgård, he does good with what he has. He's basically, you know, a conspiracy theory scientist about the Hollow Earth, and they bring him along. I just, on the spot, came up with an amazing analogy for kind of the cheesiness of these films. Like, Godzilla Legendary 2014 was super gritty, grounded in reality. Very reminiscent of some of the more serious Godzilla films, paying tribute to like the original 1954 one. Godzilla King of the Monsters was a little bit more of the over-the-top ridiculous with these monsters and just sheer violence and carnage and kind of that sort of weaker human story, very much paying homage to, I want to say it was the Showa era of Godzilla films. And then this one, where it's just gone full-blown sci-fi. It's absolutely insane. It's practically not even resembling the 2014 story arc. But that also kind of pays homage to the Millennium series of Godzilla, where in the Millennium series, you're supposed to have the original 1954 version, and then each film is supposed to be the direct sequel to the 54 version. And that, it's just, some of those are so ridiculous. They're psychics, they're spacecrafts, all of this stuff. And Adam Wingard, I think, pulled major inspiration from the Millennium series. So really, each of these Godzilla film entries is very reminiscent of paying homage to a particular era of Godzilla film, which I think is really cool, because yeah, you have to suspend a lot of disbelief because there's a lot of sci-fi tech in here. But again, you have to remember also, we're watching a movie about 300-foot-tall monsters punching each other to the death. So we don't exactly need grounded in reality here. The reason I didn't get this review to you yesterday was because I literally watched the film, said, I love this, and I watched it a second time, back to back. I'm going to watch it again tonight, and probably again tomorrow, because my favorite movie theater of all time is opening up tomorrow, and they're opening it with Godzilla vs. Kong, so I am so there. So it's one of those movies that's just rewatchable. My mom went to the movie, and she walked out and was like, I had so much fun in that movie, and she's not exactly like a Godzilla fan, per se. So people are just loving the movie because it's just pure unadulterated fun, and we haven't gotten just pure raw fun in a long time. So I have to say, Godzilla vs. Kong, with the amount of kind of impact it seems to be having, I'm going to say it achieves my rating of future classic. Alright guys, gals, and everything in between, what did you think of Godzilla vs. Kong? Please, no spoilers in the comments section. There are people who haven't seen it yet. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I got plenty more videos coming to you. Love you guys.